Recently, I visited some of the top digital nomad destinations, and in this video, I'm going to talk about what surprised me when going there, whether any of these places lived up to the hype, and why you probably won't be able to live there yourself. All right, so my first stop was in Bali, and imagine if Hawaii and Mexico had a love child, and that's kind of the vibe I got in Bali. 1 minute you're losing your mind, zipping through traffic on a moped, and next you're looking over this postcard-worthy rice terrace looking thing. Then you walk down the street and there's a burning pile of trash, but then you can take a $10 fast boat and hop on a different island for some of the best views I've ever seen. But hey, the boat rides aren't the only thing that's cheap. Food, eat like a king at any local place for around $5. Accommodation, private room with a pool, $20. Activities, want to make your own ring from scratch, $30. It's not great because you can take the $10 boat. It's great because once you take that boat, you can go scuba diving with manta rays and still have some money left over. The biggest thing that surprised me about Bali was for sure, I thought it would be super party centric. And there's really just a huge variety of kind of people that you'll meet there and stuff to do as well. Like if you go to Bali, you don't have to go party. There's plenty of other things that you can do and activities. Locals were surprisingly friendly, but some I found genuine, some won't hesitate to rip you off. Fair enough, I'd probably do the same thing in their situation. Though I get a feeling that living there long term, it probably would be hard to make any sort of long-term connections with locals. The stomach flu or Bali belly, whatever you want to call it that you get, is a real thing. I didn't get it. I took these things called Trevelyan, I think, which is like a preventative thing. I don't know if that actually helped or if it was just me being careful. It was surprising to see probably 60% of any of the foreigners I met got sick or had been sick while living in Bali. Getting around on scooters was surprisingly fun, but there is no way I would be able to do that consistently. Maybe I'm just finicky because I don't trust myself on a scooter, especially after past events. Getting around long term, like if you were living there, seems like it would be a nightmare. And finally, pollution. It wasn't surprising in and of itself, but the fact that when I went running, I noticeably felt more winded and could legitimately notice a difference from the air pollution was pretty surprising. And that's something hard to look past as well if you're trying to live there long term, at least for me. Next was Kuala Lumpur, which was shockingly modern and clean. I mean, kinda.
That's nuts!
The city feels futuristic, but somehow apocalyptic at the same time. 1 minute you're looking at these Blade Runner futuristic looking buildings, and next you're staying in a hostel that is straight out of a survival video game. People were a lot more reserved here. It was my first time in a predominantly Muslim country. Maybe that was somehow a factor. I think the biggest surprise in Kuala Lumpur was how much I liked it and how modern it felt. It felt in some ways miles ahead of places like New York City or some of the bigger cities I've been to in Western countries. Another thing was how internationally diverse Kuala Lumpur felt. A lot of the other cities I went to, there was a lot of kind of Western tourists, but Kuala Lumpur actually had, at least what felt like to me, a very diverse migrant population as well. There seemed like there was a bunch of different people from all over the world. There's also a weirdly strong military presence in the city. I remember walking down and randomly seeing military officers on every other street corner, which maybe that was just the area I was in, but at least to me and what I'm used to, that felt strange to me. One thing I didn't mention here is this was actually present in all of the Southeast Asia cities that I was at, but it was just the most noticeable in Kuala Lumpur. And finally, one other thing is the food. Everything I ate there was so good. I don't have anything specific, but anything I ate there was just on point. Next up was Bangkok, and to be honest, I don't really have too much to say about it. Pollution was pretty noticeable right away, at least air pollution. People were nice, but distant in a way that you're probably the 20th Westerner that they've had to put up with that week. Out of all of the Southeast Asian countries or cities I went to, this one was by far the most expensive, or at least it felt that way. Accommodation and transportation for sure were more expensive. Food, I feel like debatable depending on where you go. It was still great. I still enjoyed it. Also, stay away from the ping pong shows. Full disclosure, I was only in Bangkok for 2 days, but I will say I stayed longer than I was supposed to everywhere else I went, and Bangkok was the only place I left on time or early. So take that as you will. Again, biggest surprise has still got to be for me how much more expensive everything was. And it was just surprising to me because I didn't think it was that much better in any way to the previous 2 places I had been with Bali or Kuala Lumpur. The next biggest thing was just how many digital nomad types that I ran into around Bangkok. I think if you're big on nightlife, Bangkok would be probably a pretty great stop for you. For me, I'm not, so I just didn't care about that. All right, which one did I like the most, and where do I think you should think about moving to? For me, it was Kuala Lumpur. I was the most surprised by it, and it's just the place that I feel like I could see myself living in more than the other places that I was at. But I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like any of these places that I visited were a bad option. They just all have their own trade-offs. I think a more important question to ask here though is, can you actually live in any of these places? And influencers are constantly selling this idea of being a digital nomad. I'll become a content creator, sell a course, work remotely. All this kind of online centric ways of making money. And personally, I think this is a dated concept, and the amount of digital nomads that you see online and just that we can actually have in the world is going to rapidly shrink. And I have 2 main reasons for this. And number 1 is AI. I think that a lot of the sort of freelance online work that used to be so big, kind of like graphic design, I think video editing, I think a lot of that is going to rapidly shrink due to AI. And to be honest, I think in some cases it already is shrinking. Oh man, God, things too hot. My second big reason is I think that companies since COVID have really wised up to the work from home kind of remote work loophole, and they've realized if they can pay someone for salary in Indonesia, India, Thailand, wherever it is, for that cheaper price, why not hire it out there instead of paying you the wage of whatever country your company is based out of and paying that extra fee. One last thing, as far as content creation, being a YouTuber, stuff like that, I really don't think it's that sustainable of an idea to try and make all of your income from YouTube. And the whole making money from selling online courses, man, people are just getting sick of that. I hate seeing that now. And I couldn't imagine trying to sell one myself. I would just feel kind of scummy, I guess. Anyways, I just don't think that being a digital nomad is really feasible, especially going forward in the future. And a lot of influencers still push it super hard, and they're really selling this like false hope, which to me feels a bit disingenuous. Now, I'm not trying to be super doomer here. I think regardless, a lot of people want to have this experience of living in these places. And I think that you can still do it, but I think the approach is going to have to change. And there's other ways besides just the digital nomad approach. I think the real solution here is finding a technical skill that allows you to be flexible in how you work. I think some good examples of this could be working a trade. I know nurses, that's another one if you really want to travel. I think that's probably one of the better options. bartending, but I mean, I feel like the long-term career path there is not as good. Applying this thinking to the places that I went off the top of the dome, I'd say Bali. Tourism's really big there. If you really wanted to live and work in Bali, you could probably get away with doing like scuba instructor, anything to do with tourism. If you're like in hotels or something like that, I feel like you might have a decent chance. Kuala Lumpur, I honestly have no idea. I know they have the digital nomad visa, but I feel like it would actually be pretty hard to find some sort of job that you could get to work in Kuala Lumpur besides online stuff, if I'm being honest. Thailand, I know the biggest thing I've seen people that I know do is work as an English teacher in Thailand. I think there's a pretty big mismatch between people that want to work as an English teacher versus the actual demand, especially these days in Thailand. But it is an option right now. I think AI would cause a bit of shrinking in that job market as well. I mean, I've been using ChatGPT to teach me Spanish and it's works pretty well. So yeah, in 5 years' time, I have no idea. Anyways, though, those are just my thoughts and my view on it. I'm sure there's plenty of people that probably have a differing opinion. If you have a better solution, I'd love to see in the comments. And if it's a good one, I might even make a video about it, to be honest. But yeah, that's it from me. Peace.